Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, a special report from Fashion in Helsinki. One of the most important fashion events in the Nordics took place this week, and we were there, both as collaborators with our own transformation conference and as reporters at the various shows and presentations. Today we're going to hear from Mauro Scalia, Director of Sustainable Businesses at EURATEX, the European Apparel and Textile Federation, who did a much-liked keynote at our conference. Also, Diana Balanescu, Global Brand Director at the innovative fabric company SPINNOVA, who talks about their first commercial-scale factory. Suvi-Elina Enqvist, Head of Innovation Works at Marimekko on their new innovation hub. And lastly, Juha Vemanpääre, last year's Young Designer of the Year in Helsinki, who presented their latest collection in conjunction with our conference. My name is Konrad Olsson, Editor-in-Chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here with my dear colleague Johan Magnusson, who is recording still in Helsinki. I'm back in Stockholm. How are you, Johan?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't want to go home.
Yeah, I took the last flight out, which was delayed. I was home after 2:00, so my mind is still in Helsinki, recording this early Friday morning to get fresh impressions from Helsinki. Should we set this up to begin with? What is fashion in Helsinki really, and why is it important?
It's a 4-day event, annual, taking place every year in May in Helsinki, aiming to gather the national industry. And the previous main event, I would say, was of course the graduation show for Aalto University.
Well, that's why it takes place in May, which is a rather unusual fashion month. Usually, obviously fashion weeks are either early in the year or around summer. But as you said, the Aalto University graduation show has been a sought-after event for international talent scouts. I think Finland in the Nordics, I think they're the best in class in a way in the Nordics of producing talents on an international level.
Definitely, they're in their own league. We're not even close. The rest of the countries,
they're putting us to shame for sure.
And it feels like they're competing so much against each other, so that they're improving themselves. And we then see they're about to create their own ecosystem, similar to how it's been in Sweden with H&M. So several of the most recognized Swedish fashion labels, their founders have a background at H&M. And I believe that Aalto University, it's possible that it can create a similar ecosystem when the graduates then are picked up by leading fashion houses, and then they get experience, and then they can come back to their home market and start their own brand, or they can start their brand from Paris or London. We've seen several examples of that.
And they are also producing, the flip side to that story is, of course, that Finland does not have the amount of their own kind of fashion brands that Sweden and Denmark has. But there is a growing number of very innovative designers coming out with their own labels. We both were at the show last night at the beautiful Helsinki City Theatre, a wonderful 60s location. I was just mesmerized by the beautiful architecture, as you are when you are in Helsinki. And there we had, let's see if I can remember this now off the top of my head. We have by Hinders, Jonathan Hinders, Rolf Ekrot, of course, Erwin Latimer, who did a fascinating collab with one of the big retailers in Finland. Forget if it's Kmart or S-Mart, one of them.
K-Market, yeah. I heard one number that more than 50% of the clothes bought in Finland are bought at the similar supermarkets. I don't know if it's more than 50%, but it's like a cultural thing.
No, I heard the same, and they have a very special retail structure in Helsinki or in Finland at large, more similar to maybe Lidl internationally. Lidl, for many people, doesn't know that Lidl is, I think, the third or fourth or fifth up there among the biggest textile and clothing manufacturers in the world. And this connection with sort of grocery stores is strong in Helsinki, and the company behind it are also behind some of the biggest department stores and such. So happy for Erwin to get that collab. Who else was there? There was two other designers,
Yeah, so we also had Alto Recoded, Thomas.
of course, who also was a speaker at our conference.
Exactly, yeah, well, we will get back to our conference, but yeah, he was a
Mm.
speaker. And last but not least, we saw emerging names, or yeah, perhaps the emerging name, Vane.
Yes.
And they went viral like half a year ago with their McDonald's capsule. And many believe that they're the next big name to watch from Finland. And yeah, I agree.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure. Worn by many international rappers and such. I'm told. I never know who the rappers are when people tell that to me, but that says more about me than anything else. Anyways, we'll get back to the fashion coverage. We should notice also there is another very important fashion school that's kind of in the shadow of Alto, but if not equally good, it's equally good than many of the other Nordic fashion schools, namely Lahti Institute of Design, which also had a big show during the week. And of course, it's the big Alto University graduation show, which takes place tonight, Friday, when we are recording this. That's why you're sticking around to cover the whole week.
definitely. I could stay another week. There's so much to see here, of course. And I used to joke that I'm the best unpaid ambassador for Helsinki in Sweden. I just love to be here.
I think that's why they put you up in the suite in the hotel, and I was in a more standard room. But that's for another. That's neither here nor there. Let's take a moment to reflect upon why this is important, and so Johan, why else is this week so important? Do you think?
I think it's a growing industry here. They do have problems, especially with the financing and funding, because I've heard throughout the week that the cultural sector, of course, Finland is very famous for its design and architecture. So when it comes to funding, it's very difficult being in the fashion industry to get the funding. On the other hand,
Yeah.
they're very good at teaming up, and here I mean the designers. They're very good at teaming up with heritage brands or tech brands. They're world leading in fashion tech solutions, I would say, and also they have the forest, of course. I think it's the biggest forest in Europe, or the country that's the most covered by forest, and they have a great infrastructure because we're of course buying less and less magazines, so that industry has to transform, and we all know that part of the solution for them might be, or we can say it is, to transform it into textile. So you mentioned SPINNOVA, and there are several other startups, scale-ups, or industry collaborations working on cellulose-based material for the textile industry, meaning that Finland might have a great opportunity to become like a role model for how the fashion industry could become greener.
Well, which brings us to our own transformation conference, which we produce in collaboration with many of the organizations that are also doing the Fashion in Helsinki week. Most prominently, of course, Uni Communication, the kind of leading fashion and lifestyle PR agency. Shout out to Marta Luikari and Mia Koski, our wonderful collaborators. They're kind of the queens of the week in a way, but also Business Finland and Helsinki partners that are supporting the conference, as well as Stockholm Fashion District that are mostly partnering on our August event that happened in Stockholm. So we created this event to cover a lot of what you just talked about. There are so many innovation companies coming out of Finland. There's a growing need to connect these sort of startups. These are companies that are, supplying the fashion industry, but are not necessarily coming from the industry. They're coming from the pulp and wood industry, and kind of startup community, and the kind of the tech side of Aalto University, etc., etc. And readers and listeners of Scandinavian Mind have heard many of these companies, and we'll hear from them in the weeks to come. And it should be noted also, one of the reasons the conference is so powerful in Helsinki is, of course, the great attendance of international press. So that's one of the I would say strengths of Fashion in Helsinki week in total, is that they are able to attract international journalists and editors who are indeed very curious of what's happening in Helsinki, and the talents growing there.
Yeah, you said it, and it's quite a genuine interest. It's not something they say to sound nice, but they are genuine when they say that they're curious and interested in visiting. For many, it's the first time being here. And yeah, I hear a lot of journalists saying that, yeah, when I come back, I want to bring my partner on a private trip here, because it's such a beautiful city.
Yes, so yesterday, Thursday, we held the fourth edition of our conference, and the second one in Helsinki. So this is now officially a tradition, I would say. I was on stage most of the time, of course, hosting the panels, and leading introducing the keynote speakers. I feel like my brain was pretty toast afterwards. What were your impressions from the audience, Johan?
Great interest, almost 200 people, a great mixture of people. We saw fashion students, we saw entrepreneurs, we saw media, of course, our dear media colleagues, and a lot of other
Mm.
industries represented. Also the trade organizations. I was happy to be introduced to the local trade organizations, or I know a few of them, but great that they showed up and supported both us, of course, but also, yeah, these innovations, that they're also curious about not only covering, yeah, for instance, if you're in Finland, it's obvious to cover Marimekko, but also these innovations, that they have an open mind to come and hear more about them. So it was positive. It
Yeah.
was a great networking. We had a tough time to get people back from the cafe after the coffee break. So it was obvious that people were keen to connect.
Mm. No, I'm super proud of this edition. As you said, it's our biggest one yet. And I think my takeaway overall is that our conference, this concept that we created back in 2020, calling it the transformation conference because of the need for transformation in these industries that we love and cover, it really has come to fruition. I think its relevance kind of came out this year. And that is, of course, underscored by the new directives that are coming out of the European Union this year. There are several laws being constituted this summer, and that, of course, was a big part of the conference this year. So super happy to have Mauro Scalia of EURATEX present to give us an update on what's happening in the EU. We will get back to that on the podcast, and listen to what he said. But I think the main takeaway, and I think everyone is kind of waking up to the fact that this is a major thing for the fashion industry. There are 16 categories of laws that are being drafted and finalized right now that will affect the fashion industry. Mauro talked about three of them, which was this need of a product passport, a huge need of documentation and transparency for the fashion industry. Obviously, the green claims, meaning the end of greenwashing in marketing and communication. and the end of life responsibility for brands that you really have to take, which leads into the whole idea of recycling textiles. The Finns are actually pioneers here. They're the first country in the world that already this year, as of 1st of January 2023, have mandatory recycling by all municipalities in Finland. So they have recycling bins in their apartment houses, etc. This comes into full effect in the EU in 2025. So that's why there's also a lot of innovative companies. One of them, Rester, that was part of the conference, that are going into this recycling business, of course. And again, we will come back to the Transformation Conference as per usual. We will publish many of the conversations in our podcast. But you, Johan, you also took the chance to speak to Mauro Scalia from EURATEX in the intermission. And let's hear a snippet from some of the insights that he shared at the conference. Here's your conversation with Mauro Scalia.
And you just took the stage here in Helsinki at the Transformation Conference. What did you talk about?
Yes, interesting event today, packed room. We talked about the transformation that is currently happening in the global textile value chain, and particularly how this is driven by EU legislation at this point in time. We're now seeing an unprecedented amount of legislation. I mentioned 16 pieces of legally binding actions now being designed, and how this is impacting the business, the front runners, and the other companies.
And what are your key takeaways from the talk or the keynote?
Right. The transformation is happening. That's clear. There is a push and pull effect here. On the one hand side, we see legislation forcing the value chain to change because, of course, of the environmental pressure in textiles. We see a lot of innovative solution coming forward. What I think is quite crucial is the need to scale this up. So to go beyond the small scale, beyond the capsule collection of the fashion brands, and make it possible to become the new norm, as we say also in Brussels. For that to happen, it's crucial that different parts of the value chain collaborates more with each other. And we do see fashion brands collaborating more even with spinners, with fiber producers, something that perhaps 10 years ago was way less common. So this integration in the value chain, this stronger collaboration is seen as one of key enabler to go higher up in scale.
What are the crucial call to actions in order to achieve this scaling? Is it the end consumer demands, legislation, or?
Yeah, I think we can say there is a role to play for everybody, virtually everyone. The states, the policymakers need to do quality legislations and to consider all aspects, not just very ambitious goals, but also the real implementability, the impact also on the competitiveness of the companies. The companies need to make products in a different way and need to be more sustainable, and we need to help those which are lagging behind or initiating this journey, and we need to learn also what best practices can be used to inspire. Consumers, it's clear we need to better inform consumers. There has to be a demand for more sustainable products, because nowadays we still see price is becoming, is still the major driver, price and comfort, price and aesthetic, for consumers to choose sustainable products. Sustainability is not yet on top of the agenda. When people buy things, they don't check the sustainability. Some do, but not the large majorities. And finally, also the state has a role to play, because authorities, organizations, they do purchase a lot of textile products and services. They can also, through public procurement, increase the demand for more sustainable products. So there is a role for everyone.
At Scandinavian Mind, we covered EU legislation and the coming initiatives quite broadly. What are the next steps that ventures and entrepreneurs and the industry should focus on? And it's also different for bigger corporations and SMEs.
For sure. As mentioned earlier, there are some really groundbreaking rules which are now being designed. As industry association, we need to advise the policymakers to do that. So we need to have inputs and ideas from the companies. Both the large one, which of course they have a very strong leverage power and they can take initiative, but also the smaller companies, the SMEs. So we need to collect ideas, we need to collect inputs. Be mindful that over the next 1 year, a lot of the legislation now being designed on eco-design, on system to cover the cost of the textile waste disposals will be completed most probably. So it is now the time to look at this legislation and provide inputs to make it happen.
All right, that was Mauro Scalia, Director of Sustainable Businesses at EURATEX, the European Apparel and Textile Federation. Okay, moving on from the Transformation Conference, while I stayed on to host a couple of roundtables, you went with the press tour out into Helsinki, going to some of the events. One of them was the Marimekko event that was hosted together with SPINNOVA.
Exactly, and a few other material innovation companies, because Marimekko just launched their own innovation hub, which is located at their printing mill right outside of Helsinki. So they invite startups to test their ideas in these facilities. Now they work with, and actually mainly local ones, but also from other regions. But they work together with a bunch of them. It's not only that they're doing any pilot projects there, but it also results in products for the market.
Well, so paint the picture. What was that? Was it actual production, or was it more theoretical, like innovation hub connecting businesses, or were they actually in the facilities?
So at their HQ, they have a printing mill. I think it's like 70 years old. If I remember it right, they produce 1 million meter or print 1 million meter of fabric there every year.
Wow.
So there were a few innovation companies present and presented either their finished products or their coming products, and a few of them are yet to be revealed. So we were maybe one of the first to see them.
Yeah, and you took the chance to also speak to the head of innovation works at Marimekko, Suvi-Elina Enqvist. Let's listen to that conversation.
And we are here today in the Marimekko's printing mill in the headquarters in Herttoniemi, where we print over 1 million meters of fabric every year. And it's a production facility, but it's also an innovation hub where we co-develop and co-create new materials and dyeing innovations for the future.
How long has this hub been up and running, and how come you started it, and what has it been like since you started?
So we started this innovation team a little over a year ago, but I have to say that this approach to collaboration goes way beyond our times, this team's times. So that's actually one of the core values of Marimekko, the collaboration and co-creation, whether it is creating new prints for our portfolio or overall the techniques in our printing processes. So I think I would say that we're just carrying forward the tradition that we've already been doing for decades.
And if we look at some of the current projects, tell us more. Who are the partners and what have you created together?
Yes, so we work a lot with innovators and startups and growth companies from Finland, but also we work a lot with all kinds of companies from different parts of the world. But today in this event we wanted to shine some light on some of the Finnish companies, and maybe worth mentioning is our first closed loop capsule collection. That was actually done in collaboration with the Portuguese cluster that's launching in the end of June. So it's the first our first effort to close the loop from material waste to new garments. Then maybe something on the dyeing space. We work with a Finnish company called Finnish Natural Indigo. They are based in the Österbottnia region in Finland, a couple of hours north of from Helsinki, and they are developing plant-based dyeing solutions using agricultural byproducts. It's a working farm, actually.
And why is it important for you to team up with these startups? How does it help you as a company and in your transformation?
Yes. We believe that collaboration provides solutions for what the industry is currently facing, and startups and innovators are a key component to this. And they are agile, they are very visionary, they want to get things done. So it's just fascinating to work with them because they see no boundaries. They only see opportunities. So it's a very like important because they have the energy and the drive to push the industry forward, and it's very inspiring and motivating for us as well.
And today on this presentation, you've unveiled a few of the coming launches, and some of them are not even public, I assume, so we can't talk about it. But if you're looking ahead, what are you looking for future collaborations with startups? What are your important topics, or what are you looking at?
Yes. So materials is obviously a big part, as it's one of the biggest emission generators in the industry at large today. So that more work must continue. I think now it's because we're living through these very interesting times in the industry right now, where we are in this inflection point where the wide-scale adoption is around the corner. So we want to now focus more on scaling up these solutions. I would say that's probably the next. And also focusing on developing services around the ecosystem.
All right, that was Suvi-Elina Enqvist, Head of Innovation Works at Marimekko. Also, other big news during the week is that SPINNOVA, the innovative fiber company, which we have written about many times in Scandinavian Mind, they've also been present at our conferences. Also, big news during the week, SPINNOVA, the innovative fiber company that we've written a lot about, it's in Scandinavian Mind, also have been part of several of our conferences. They officially opened their first commercial scale factory. Johan, why is this important?
They were one of the first to prove that the Finnish forest can actually be used for something else. And ever since, they've been a front runner and have worked with a bunch of the leading global fashion and lifestyle brands. Their partner list is quite impressive. And also for all these innovation companies, it's a thing to come up with the innovation, but then of course it's another thing to scale. So why this is important is that they show that they have the resources and the will or the strength to open a commercial factory, just like Swedish Renewcell did recently back in Sweden. So the Nordics are leading the way here, proving that cellulose-based textile can solve or help solving a lot of problems for the industry. And they opened a factory together with the world's largest wood pulp producer, Suzano. So they have great partners as well.
And all the reports I've heard and seen is that the factory looks amazing. Another architectural feat for the Finns. And also, you know, it's carbon positive even. There's something about, I mean, obviously their innovation is that it's a waterless technology, also a chemical-free technology. So for being a factory, there is no pollution going on at all. Nothing comes out of the factory. No dirty water. No chemicals are leaving the facility, which I find also very fascinating.
Yeah, Shariar Mahmoud at SPINNOVA, one of their executives. He was a speaker at the conference, and afterwards I had a long interview with him. And he mentioned that he believes that the next big thing when it comes to sustainability in the industry is water. The lack of water will become a global issue.
We're going to get back to your conversation with Shariare and now turn our attention to their global brand director, which you met during the week to talk about this. Diana Balanescu is the global brand director of SPINNOVA, and let's listen to your conversation with her.
Yeah, speaking of a lot of things happening, you experienced a big week in Jyväskylä in central Finland. Tell us more.
It happened actually just yesterday. It's been pretty much one of the biggest projects I started working on from the get-go. And finally, yesterday, it came to the final point where we revealed the first commercial factory that we've opened in collaboration or as a joint venture with Suzano, the co-partner of the joint venture. So it's the first commercial factory that is producing the SPINNOVA fiber out of wood pulp. So Suzano is the raw material provider, and we, SPINNOVA, come with technology and the brand.
What will you produce there? How much is the capacity? Tell us more about what this will change for the venture.
So it's the wood-based SPINNOVA fiber that we're producing out of the factory. We're still ramping up production until the end of the year, and the aim is to reach 1,000 tons. And then in the next 10 years, the aim is to reach 1 million. And that also means that we're already looking into feasibility studies and discussion where the next plant could be.
Can you share anything on coming plants or coming projects?
No, it's still a lot of avenues are being explored, both when it comes to production side, but also brand partnerships. So a lot of development is happening. As soon as it's finalized, we will definitely reveal. So nothing just yet that hasn't been published.
You now have a long list of partnering brands, especially in fashion and outdoor. For this spring-summer, which projects do you find the most exciting?
Well, the last one that we communicated was Halti just a few weeks ago. And for the rest of the year, we're working on a few different ones, mostly in fashion, but exploring other applications of the fiber as well, and see where it suits best, and hopefully more that we can communicate very soon. But yes, a lot of brand partners are in the pipeline. We're doing research and development with them, and once we finalize the perfect product for both of us, then we will be looking forward to launch.
All right, that was Diana Balanescu, Global Brand Director at SPINNOVA. Okay, so it wouldn't be fashion in Helsinki without the fashion. Even though we love to cover the tech side of things, and lately also policy side of things with the whole EU things happening. We also wanted to lift one of the most fascinating designers coming out of Helsinki, last year's Young Designer of the Year, Juha Viemanpääre. You met Juha. What fascinates you about Juha, Johan?
Yeah, very, very inspiring character. Very calm, very Finnish, but still a lot of charisma, and merging old knitting and weaving techniques with 3D printing, and proving that it may actually be possible to use 3D printing in garments, and not only for, I don't know, manufacturing industries and such. And I'm quite curious about how 3D printing can be used in fashion.
Also very topical and fascinating, with the sort of combination of inspirations from the gaming world, as well, combining that with sort of traditional crafts and new innovations like 3D printing. Very, very, very fascinating. All right, so let's listen to your conversation with Juha Viemanpääre. All right, that was Johan Vemanpääre, last year's Young Designer of the Year, who presented their latest collection in conjunction with the Transformation Conference. Johan, I'm gonna let you go now. You have a last day to do in Helsinki, so we have reason to come back to some of the things happening. Is there something you're looking forward to extra much today, Friday?
Obviously, the graduation show, finishing the Finnish Fashion Week. So we're going to Aalto University tonight to see the new generation of talents from this country. I said in like the latest podcast I went into, what's in the water here? It's so much talent and so much innovation and such good entrepreneurs. But you need to come here to experience it firsthand, you know.
A beautiful time of year to be in Helsinki, also very lush and green. All right, this has been the Scandinavian Mind podcast with a special report from Fashion in Helsinki. We will, of course, be back with publishing the conversations from our Transformation Conference that happened yesterday in Helsinki, but we'll also redirect our focus to our upcoming Beauty Innovation Initiative, our new Insights newsletter that's being launched in just a few weeks. So if you want to know everything about what's happening in the world of beauty from a sort of tech standpoint, sustainability standpoint, innovation standpoint, go to scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation and sign up for pre-access to that. There are some interesting also events coming out related to beauty innovation that we're working on right now. So make sure you sign up for early access to get notified when that comes out, and also, of course, sign up to our regular newsletter that comes out twice a week. All right, Johan, enjoy your last day of Helsinki.
Kiitos.